And do you have any tips? Because whenever I'm hearing that, it's always, I think people start with good intentions whenever it comes to meetings, but then it kind of, we talk about getting bogged down and there's meeting after meeting after meeting. And then you feel like you don't have time to set objectives or clear goals and things like that. Do you have a tip for any executive or leader out there, or anybody scheduling meetings on how to like take a deep breath? And it might go back to auditing your meetings and making sure that, okay, does this have to be synchronous? Can it be asynchronous? Can we collaborate asynchronously and then have a quick synchronous, maybe 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes? But do you have any tips on anybody, like the people who are bogged down and their time, maybe they're not good at time management and they just feel like they can't set that objective before the meeting? Any tips on that?
Ooh, yeah, you should not be scheduling meetings if you don't have that skill set. That would be my first thing. And that it sounds harsh, but I do think that anyone that like has the authority to put a meeting on anybody's calendar, if they don't know how to set an objective ahead of time, that authority should be taken away post haste. But so in all seriousness though, like additional tips for people who just feel bogged down. Number one, if you don't have authority over like scheduling meetings and you're just being invited to meetings, decline meetings that don't require your full participation. Decline meetings that don't have agendas. So if it's not clear what you're doing there, just decline the meeting and say in your response, I'm declining this meeting because it's not clear what my active participation would be, or it's not clear why I'm being invited. So in many organizations, there's not really a culture of, using an agenda in every meeting, but that really is on everybody to enforce. Right. So in some organizations, there's a, policy. If there's no meeting agenda, no attenda, right? Like no, it's not required to attend any meeting without an agenda. In an organization that doesn't have that policy, you probably have to be a little bit more subtle or just, not quite as abrupt in that kind of, deciding when you go to a meeting or not. But it is absolutely worthwhile to make those suggestions because that's how you begin to have that culture of, relying on agendas and thinking about what the actual objective is. Leaving meetings on time. So, if the meeting ends at 10 till, leave at 10 till and say, sorry, I have a hard stop. I need to take these. You don't even have to explain it. The meeting ends at this time, right? No explanation needed. Bye. And so that's just like calendar, figuring out what you can do to find some time and find some, calm in the midst of all the chaos. Then in terms of people organizing meetings, scheduling meetings a little bit shorter. So making sure that they end at, the 10-minute mark or 10 till, right? Or scheduling 15-minute meetings. Like try scheduling meetings that are shorter so that you don't fill up time that you don't actually have to fill up. Use time before and after meetings to do all of that administrative work of making sure that everything is documented, making sure that people have access to everything that they need, assigning pre-work. So making sure that that people come to the meetings prepared, which again is part of culture, right? If you have a culture where people are used to just showing up to a meeting and not having done any preparation, that's not going to change overnight. But that is, again, in leadership's purview to change. So schedule a meeting that requires pre-work where you do a reading of, the update of last week and you come ready with solutions to the challenges that were presented in that update, right? So assigning pre-work, holding people accountable to completing that pre-work, then assigning tasks based on that discussion and making sure that those tasks are always in the same place. So if you have a project management tool, we use ClickUp, for instance. So at the end of every meeting, make sure that every single task that is decided on or every single action item is transferred over to ClickUp and has an assignee and a due date. So I just rambled off a lot of things. So hopefully
No,
that
that was
answered
great.
some of your questions.
No, I'm gonna have to listen back to it because there were so many tips that I think are 100% beneficial to anybody in office, remote, hybrid. It doesn't matter in this case. Like, I love that because I'm a big agenda person. Like each meeting that I have, I like to have an agenda so people know what the purpose of the meeting is, and then they can come into the meeting. Like, yes, we'll still have a conversation at the beginning, so we're showing emotional intelligence and we're not just being rude, but then we get straight to it. And like you said, if you shorten that time on the meeting, what's funny is if you give a person an hour to have a meeting, they're going to take an hour. If you give them 30 minutes, they're going to take 30 minutes. If you give them 15, they're going to take 15. And you still get the same amount done. It's just that time constraint is kind of psychological in a sense, but you're still able to get that done. So no, that was not rambling. That was amazing. I love that. I'm a nerd, so that's okay.